All right, just before we jump into today's episode, a quick word from our sponsor, Katana. Now, I know a lot of you are selling on Shopify, Amazon, wholesale, retail, and sometimes all at once. And, once you're on more than a couple of channels, keeping inventory accurate gets genuinely hard, and that's where Katana fits in. Stock syncs automatically across every channel and every location, all in real time. So there's no spreadsheets, there's no manual reconciliation, none of the setup overhead of a traditional ERP. Now, you can try it for free right now at katanamrp.com. That's katanamrp.com. All right, let's jump into today's episode.
You're listening to E-commerce Fastlane, the podcast show to help you build, manage, grow, and scale a successful and thriving company, powered by Shopify. Listen to real conversations with partners and subject matter experts as they share proven practical strategies, platforms, and the best Shopify apps to help you accelerate your business. The time is now for you to improve efficiencies, grow revenue, profit, and lifetime customer loyalty. Please welcome your host, startup founder, and strategic advisor, Steve Hutt.
All right, well, welcome back to E-commerce Fastlane. I am your host, Steve Hutt. Now, today's conversation is, again, all about turning, I would say, like customer data that's kind of sitting inside your Shopify store almost into an engine that makes your meta ads actually, I'd say, profitable, but even more profitable than maybe they currently are. And there's a pattern that I keep seeing right now. I think, think about a brand that may be doing $1 million a year or, even $5 million a year. They've got years of order history. And think of like things like repeat purchase data or, average order value by segment or, products that, that have really high LTV buyers, or products that maybe they only have like people that are discount hunters. Maybe they only have like a one-time purchase. And so all of this data is really sitting inside Shopify. And then their meta campaigns go out and target, this is typical though, they go out and target anyone who looks like a buyer because the platform decides who to show ads to based on its own, I would call it narrow signals. That's kind of what's happening right now. Not maybe the rich data that brands actually have inside their Shopify store. And I think this gap right now between what you have and what you're actually feeding Meta, these algorithms, I think is where most of the budgets, I'd argue, are quietly kind of bleeding a bit. I don't think they're completely as efficient maybe as they could be. My guest today is Tiago Costa, and he is the co-founder and CEO of a company called FULLVENUE. Now, they're the team that's behind a Shopify app that's starting to blow up now, and it's called Clustie, and that's with a C, Clustie. Now, Clustie is a Shopify app, as I mentioned, and what it does is it takes your first-party customer data, and then, I believe, we're going to learn more about this, but it must predict who your high-value buyers are likely to be, and then I think it pushes those audiences directly to the Meta ad accounts. And I think from there, the magic starts happening with kind of AI-powered audience retargeting. And I don't know, it's incredibly timely right now, and everybody's kind of AI hungry. And I think this is one of those rare cases where, this is a point pillar solution that's doing something really incredible. And so that's why I wanted to have him on right away and talk about this app and what you're doing. So hello, Tiago, welcome to the show.
Hi, Steve. Thanks for having me here. And yes, you made the perfect pitch about Clustie.
All right.
The tool that we launched a couple of months ago. The goal is go over first-party data, apply the intelligence that we have been developing on audience segmentation here on the company, identifying these high-value segments, put them on Meta, and increase the results that our customers are generating with the budget that they are spending.
What's interesting, though, is I think, there's been recently a lot of like privacy changes that I think broke a lot of these metapixel signals, I think, over the last few years. I know I've had a few people on the show trying to solve this problem, but I think a lot of like operators are just kind of accepting the fact that maybe, CPMs or maybe even like there's a little like weaker performance maybe than normal like from where you sit, like what's actually changed under the hood? Why is first party data now the answer instead of just spending more?
Yeah, so if you need to think about fine tuning, you will realize that the strongest data that any brand have on their side is their own data. So their customers, the customer behavior, the orders that they are generating, which kind of products are they buying, which kind of behavior they have during a year, for example. So all this information that resides on the e-commerce platform, in this case on the Shopify platform from the brands that we work with, it's super valuable. At the same time, you have privacy restrictions. It's super tough to measure all the journey from a customer, from the time he clicks in one ad to the time that he finalizes his order. So in the end, we are not solving this kind of attribution issue that today exists, and probably it will continue to exist in the following month, years. But having this kind of tracking that we have today, with all the attribution problems that we have today, going to the strongest data that the brand has, we can generate more results by applying our solution to the niche that we want to find. So in the end, we are not focusing on solving problems related with pixels, with tracking, with third-party data. We are focused on generating more results with the first-party data and the models that we are developing internally. And in the end, what the customer wants is to generate more money and to acquire customers at a lower cost. In the end, when we started to think about, because we hear a lot about tracking issues today from our customers, it's clearly an issue that they have. There are super interesting tools to help also these brands to track more sales, to understand better where the customer is navigating. But in the end, for our experience, it's a never-ending story, because imagine that you see an ad today in your device, in your phone, for example, and you are going to buy the same product in 1 week on your laptop with a different browser that the one you were using on your phone. So in terms of attribution, there are things that you will never solve. So departing from the attribution that we have today, comparing, for example, two campaigns, the base is the same. So in the end, the results, if Clustie generates more results for the customer, it's clear for the customer that we are generating money to them. So our focus is clearly the audience and the final numbers on the sales generated by our solution.
I see. So, you know what I'd like to do is maybe if you can walk me through like what actually happens when a brand connects to Clustie to their Shopify store and their Meta accounts. Like what signals, I kind of mentioned it at the beginning of the show, but I'm kind of learning as I go here too. Like what signals are you looking at that would, I don't know, model like predicting, and then what does Meta receive on the other end that's maybe different from a standard kind of custom audience, let's say, so to speak. So there are different tools to do certain things, but you do things a little bit differently.
Yeah. So right now, with the solution that we have today, that is available on Shopify App Store, we are focusing on two major audiences. One of them is the high-propensity buyers audience. So what we are doing is, so you are a brand, you go to the App Store, you install Clustie, we will bring the data from your Shopify, so customers, products, and orders, and we will apply these models to identify the strongest DNA that you have on your store. After that, we are going to generate this audience. So in the end, we are talking about a customer list, a custom audience, as you said, and inject this custom audience automatically in Meta. And in the end, giving a feature to our customer that is with one click, he will be able to launch a Clustie campaign that will use the best assets that the customer has already active on their Meta account with the audience that we have generated. And this is like an hack to save time to our customer, and in order that we can be really efficient during the 30-day trial that we are offering, we are simplifying the process. So first audience, the best DNA from the store. Second audience, the 30-day LTV audience. So we are predicting also with our models who is going to buy products on the next 30 days. So super simple, super straightforward. Mainly these audiences, when uploaded in Meta, they are going to generate lookalikes, and we will be able to acquire new customers. So, and this is the thing. So we will identify people that behave exactly the same way on social media than the people that is residing on the e-commerce platform with a high value behavior.
I see. This is really amazing, man. I can't. One thing I did do just kind of before recording was I looked at a few different case studies, because there's a couple pretty amazing ones that are on the site right now. There was one, I think, Mac Store. I think they were talking about a lift of almost 70% on their ROAS and 90% improvement of conversion. Even their AOV went up by a big chunk. Can you talk a little bit about maybe that case study, or one that you think is notable for my listeners today?
Yeah, we have a couple of edge cases with crazy numbers. Crazy numbers. So, and then this one is about 70% increase on ROAS. We have cases with 400% increase in 30 days on ROAS. So it's insane. It will depend, of course, of what the customer was already doing on their Meta campaigns. So depending on the maturity of the brand, depending on the maturity of the agency managing the Meta ads account from the brand, we will have a huge or a big impact. So that's an edge case, and that was a store reselling iPhones. They were not investing a lot of money in Meta, so they were investing around $3,000 a month, $2,000, $3,000 a month. They were a bit skeptical about splitting the budget, because when we entered in the 30-day trial, we didn't want them to double the budget that they were investing. So we asked them to split the budget, continue to use half of the budget in the campaign that you have live. They only had one campaign live by the time, and the other half of the budget use it on Clustie campaign. And the numbers were incredible. At the same time, we have a couple of brands, and what we are seeing is that the customer acquisition cost is reducing most of the times with all the brands in Clustie. On average, about 30%. So this is something that we really want to focus, because today you have a lot of people talking about ROAS, about return on ad spend, and then you have people talking about profit on ad spend. You have people saying that it's not an accurate measure because return on ad spend is super influential by the type of product that you sold. So if you have a product that costs $20 and a product that costs $2,000, the ROAS will move incredibly.
Yeah, sure.
But in the end, the money that you spend to acquire one customer is the North Star metric that we want to share with all our clients and potential clients and everyone that wants to hear about Clustie. So right now, with most use cases that we have success stories, we are reducing the customer acquisition cost in about 30%. And something really, really interesting is that, for example, I will give you an example of a brand from Portugal called Portugal Jewels. So products made in Portugal, super typical and traditional jewelry from Portugal. They were and they are pointing their energies and their batteries to Europe and the US. So let's go abroad, because Portugal is small. Okay, Portugal, and and you are coming to Portugal soon. Portugal is not huge. So when we spoke with them, they were clear. We know really well the market in Portugal. Okay, we have an agency, a really good agency working with us. We know the market perfectly. We don't believe that Clustie will improve what we have in Portugal. Right. But we don't know exactly how to target on the US. We don't know exactly how to target in Germany, in France. So if you can somehow help us to target to these countries and reduce the customer acquisition cost in about 10 to 20%, we will pay for Clustie in the next months, in the next years. So, and we help them directly to go abroad. And it was and it is a huge use case for us because the brand is really well known in Portugal and the results are clear today. So they are generating more sales. The AOV in the US campaign is much higher today, and the CPA is lower. So this is the perfect use case on what we can do for brands. So not only to reduce the CPA and increase the ROAS, but also go abroad, go to markets that you don't know perfectly. But if we can identify audiences in those countries, we will show you on how to sell there.
I see. So how does creative fit into this? Because we're talking about creating these campaigns. I know you said the one company, they didn't really want to split them. They said, okay, no, just follow. We have this propensity to next sale, and then we have the 30-day LTV audience. And so I understand those two sides. Is there a what's the work effort now for the creative side? Because what we don't want, and a lot of people have, there's a lot of AI tools, a lot of different tools out there that are creating the product creative for the ads themselves. You're segmenting out and recommending to go after these audiences, but we also have to pair them with the appropriate creative. What's your mindset and thought around that process?
Yeah. So Clustie is fully focused on the audience pillar. Okay. So we are not focusing on the message, on the creative, on the offer. We are focused on the audience. At the same time, we offer two different options to our customers. The first one is by using our business logic, and we have a business logic to create a meta campaign that is going to find the best assets that the client have on active campaigns at this moment. So we will identify what are the best assets and put them in Clustie campaign. And the second option is the campaign will be created with our audiences, and the customer just need to go to Meta account, duplicate the assets that he wants to duplicate, and put them on the Clustie campaign. So these two options we offer to the client. So one of them is just 3 clicks, connect to Shopify, connect to Meta, generate the audience, and the campaign is launched. And the other, you have these 3 clicks, and then you have to place a creative inside the Clustie campaign. So this is super straightforward because in the end, right now, and of course that we have to think on the long run, but right now the focus is the audience. Maybe in the future we can include some logic around creatives, but it's not something that we are thinking for tomorrow.
Yeah, I see. Okay. So this is very interesting. And so basically we're taking for me, this is my mindset right now. We're taking a lot of this raw data that's happening inside Shopify right now, and then we're turning it into these almost like actionable audiences that can be implemented. And then because they're so fine tuned for their specific use case, and your is the propensity for the next purchase, and then the 30-day LTV audiences, you've kind of fine tuned those into a certain way. And you've clearly proven that the profitability goes up and AOV goes up. And everybody's like, this is like the holy grail of what people actually want right now.
Yeah. And I will give you a short example on how difficult it is to have success with our product, but how easy it is to have success with our product. This sounds a bit crazy, but for example, in this month of April, we had a 90% ratio of free to paid accounts. So from all the brands that decided to run the 30-day trial, 90% are paid customers today. Why? Because this is not a product where the features needs to be incredible. We are not focusing on the wow factor. No, we have the outcome, the uplift on meta campaigns. And it's simple. During the trial, if we are able to generate it, the clients will continue. If we are not, the clients will go away. So this is an outcome-based product, clearly. It's super difficult to have success, but at the same time, if we find the niche that has success, and we believe that we are there, I believe that we can scale super fast.
Yeah, this is amazing. So so where do you see the product headed? I know you said that we might at some point start branching off into even more segments, but you're clearly very profitable, and clearly with 90% of from 30-day trials to revenue, that the lift is there for the brands to at least test it. That's why when I heard about this, I'm like, no. You should at least, everyone that's listening should at least try Clustie out. Like don't assume that no, this is not for me. No, it's for you because you haven't tested it yet. You should try it. And based on these case studies I see, but where do we see the product evolving over time? Have you started getting it? Is there like a public roadmap, or is there some internal things that you're thinking of where you believe the product might be headed?
Yeah. So from the moment that we launched Clustie, we have regular meetings with our customers. So the customer success team is dynamically speaking with the brands. So it's not something exhausting, probably once a week or once every 2 weeks. Mm-hmm. And we are receiving feedback, because this is the best thing that we can have right now, is receive feedback from all the brands using our product. And by looking at this feedback, something that was clear for us for tomorrow was the budget optimization for the audiences that we are running. Because
I see that.
We can see the opportunity. So imagine that you launch a campaign today with 4 different audiences and a kind of decision to allocate budget to each one of them. We can understand behaviors on the audiences that justifies to augment or reduce the budget that you have on each ad set inside a meta campaign. And we started to have this kind of communication between the customer success team and the brand almost every day. And after the brand updates the campaign, because we are not doing that on our own, we are not a marketing agency.
Right.
After the agency or the brand updates accordingly to our logic, the sales appear, the numbers appear. So it's incredible. It's almost direct. And we saw, we need to automate this. And we have been developing this, so the budget optimization for our audiences. And I believe that in a couple of months, it will be already live. So if you click the option of automatically manage the budget that you have on the Clustie campaign, at least, you will have the possibility to extract the most of the capacity of our campaign. So this is one of the things. Other kind of things. So we can include more data sources. And I will give you an example. If we think about Klaviyo, we think about a huge platform with a lot of data. So it's not transactional data, but it's data from email marketing, it's SMS data. We have a lot of information that we can mix with e-commerce data. And who knows, to have this capacity of not only integrating Klaviyo data, but also to give to Klaviyo, for example, this is a kind of partnership that we want to explore in the future with bigger companies, to give to these bigger companies. And I'm talking about Klaviyo, I can talk about Adobe Marketing Cloud, I can talk about Salesforce, to give them a Clustie audience, for example. So this is something that we are going to chase, because we are a simple tool, a niched tool. But probably if we can create an API and deliver an audience from our tool to these kind of platforms, they can have a simple feature on the audience segmentation side, that is, use Clustie audience. So this is a bit of the vision that we have internally right now.
Yeah, it's interesting about that budget optimization, because I know of many stories that I've mentioned on this podcast where people don't have budget optimization set up correctly. They have like a finite budget, but they don't dynamically look and saying, hey, wait a second, whatever the metrics are, let's say the ROAS or the CPA targets are hit, but you're starting to run out of money. Because sometimes there can be some interesting aberrations that happen where certain campaigns are doing better than others. It depends on the product. It could be a weather-related thing. There could be something happening in the market. An influencer blew something up, and then they're starting to get more like brand buzz online about certain things. And then what you don't want to do is run out of money and not be there when the customers are there. And knowing that you have this certain kind of performance expectation or a number set, then all of a sudden you can go in and dynamically kind of reallocate or have a certain percentage of an additional budget available for successful campaigns in real time. That is a very, very powerful way of looking at it, instead of like just ending a 24-hour period and utilizing all the budgets and then making a new decision tomorrow, instead of like, no, look how well this campaign is doing. We're almost running out of budget. What do we do with that information? Do we hit Slack? Is there someone that makes a decision, make a decision on behalf with a guardrail? It's so interesting.
Yes, it's super interesting. And in the end, you think about the Meta insights and a lot of platforms that are connecting with Meta and giving insights on the budget behavior and what the customer should do with what's happening. But we don't want to go there. So we are in the AI era. So what we want is to create a simple toggle that the customer will be able to activate, and Clustie will be the responsible to do that. It's not important if you have the opportunity, if you increase like $10 today, you will generate more. No, because the customers and the agencies are always looking into this, and sometimes they are just testing, just trying different things. What we do is, okay, we have the logic, we built the logic, now let's do it automatically in order to generate more sales. Again, we are an outcome-based product. The better results that we generate, the most clients we are going to capture.
So Clustie, just so that I'm clear, I've written down notes here, but so it really does identify kind of future high-value buyers, number one. And number two, it's customers who are most likely to convert, like kind of to return. That's the 30-day LTV audience we're talking about. And they'll return to the shop, and that grows the LTV. And you're syncing these directly to Meta ads. Pretty much that's kind of the high level of what the tool does.
Exactly. Perfect.
Okay. All right. And then once that's fully connected, now you do have a 30-day trial right now. Walk us through what happens when someone makes a decision saying, hey, I want to test this solution out. I'm running Meta ads right now. I feel that they're reasonable. And there's a certain ROAS they're happy or a CPA they're happy with, but they don't know what they don't know. What do you tell those people about wanting to at least try? Because my thought is that if it's true, and I know you're an honorable guy, like 90% conversion rate from 30-day trials to revenue, clearly the upside is for the merchant, because you're a point solution. But like, what do you tell people that are skeptical and they want to, should they try it right away? And then what's the process?
Yeah, the thing is, if you want something super simple that will take, I would say, 15 minutes of your time to set up and launch the campaign, something that you will not pay for because you have 30 days to look into what's happening, because you are already, and I assume that you are already spending money in Meta.
Yeah.
You are already generating figures, some insights in Meta. So you will be able to compare what's happening today with what happened before. And at the same time, of course, that we want this possibility of onboarding more and more brands, because we are evolving our product also. So this is something that for us is really important. That's why also we are giving the possibility to test the product without any commitment. And after that, if the numbers are there, if we can justify that by the results value of the campaign, it's more than enough to generate revenue to the clients and pay the Clustie subscription, continue with the Clustie tool. And we have 3 different pricing tiers, one of $79, $299, $499, and depending on the active customers that the brand have. So the first tier is until 10,000 customers, then until 250,000 customers, and from there, you pay the highest tier that's for enterprise level. But yeah, super simple. In the end, you just need to spend 15 minutes setting up. Probably someone from our team will contact you after you set up the tool and give it a try. Because in the end, what you want is to reduce the customer acquisition cost and to increase the return that you have by investing the money that you are investing in Meta.
So what do you say to our marketing agency partners that are listening to the podcast today? Because there's a lot of them, or a lot of independent or small shops that really are taking care of their clients. And is there a white label option, or are they going to see the Clustie app installed in their admin if they're an agency partner looking after on a done-for-you service level? I'm just curious kind of how agencies are positioning the Clustie product, when I guess you have to tell the client that, or the merchant, that I'm going to install this, but we're managing it along with other things. Or is there a white label solution, or is there like a private API injection, or because I know Shopify has an option to not necessarily use the public facing app. There could be like a private injection with a direct API connection. So I'm just curious on what options you have available.
No, right now we just have the Clustie app as it is.
Okay.
But in terms of the ICP of our company, when selling our product, of course, that we have the brand and we have the agency, and we are pushing really hard to sell to the agency, because in the end, the agency is managing a lot of brands, and they are the ones that will benefit more with our product. So we have this struggle of selling our solution to an agency. We are feeling some resistance here in Portugal and Spain. For example, in the UAE, we have an agency working with us. In Central Europe, we have an agency working with us already that's decided to go to the annual subscription with both brands that they are working with. So we can see that the agencies that believe in Clustie, they get to be real clients and to stay with us. During the selling process, it's not easy. I think that today the agencies need to rethink on how to be better, how to be more competitive, and how to embrace these AI solutions, to test them at least, to understand if it can improve their work. But undoubtedly that the agencies are the ones that we want to capture. We are doing an extra effort today to reach, for example, Shopify plus premium partners that are developing Shopify stores, to get to more brands, marketing agencies, huge marketing agencies, to get to more brands. And we can offer also a partnership program to these kind of companies. So that's the way we are trying to enter there.
Yeah, I love that. And I think, like I said, there's lots listening for that. And I think the opportunity is there. And I think those agency partners that are listening right now, especially the plus agency partners, clearly have done, you and I are kind of talking on behalf of them right now or to them. But if you're offering done for you services for marketing, it actually looks good on you as the marketing agency owner to recommend apps and marketing platforms that connect to a brand's store that are at an enterprise level or uniquely are solving some problems. And I think, sometimes people, okay, I'm going to install Triple Whale. Why? Because I want a better kind of pixel tracking tool for lots of different things. Or I'm going to recommend Attentive or PostScript or Klaviyo or whatever. And so there's certain things that you're going to recommend as the agency because this is you're deep into the business, where usually the founders and marketers are more into products, like what's next, the next lineup, and improving what they're selling. They're not necessarily, they can appreciate the technology, the tech stack that goes along with having an e-commerce and retail business. But I think that's the I guess the takeaway that I have is that if you're offering these sorts of services, it looks good on you to be leading edge and actually recommend certain solutions, even though they're going to see it in their admin. It's one of many things that an agency partner does for their clients. Number one, just to overall improve the ROAS of their business and make it more profitable for them, and that's a big win for everybody, right? So
exactly, and we are hearing this kind of mindset from Shopify agencies that. What they tell us is that the customers reach them asking for solutions to improve the money that they are spending on ads platforms. So in the end, it's a win-win situation.
Yeah, this is amazing. All right, so I'll make sure I have everything updated in the show notes. You have a 30-day free trial. If you go to the Shopify App Store and just type in Clustie, that's Clustie. Actually, you can go to clustie.ai too, and you can install the app, kind of get that rolling. 30-day free trial. And then, like you said, 15 minutes later, and then within a couple of days, you're going to see some big changes and improvements at least in these two separate campaigns now of the propensity to buy. And then the LTV audience is going to be really growing too for you. So this has been very eye-opening. Thank you for coming on the show. I've learned a lot. I always joke on the show, but page 2 of notes, that's a good show when you have lots of notes and life of learning. And I wish you continued success in supporting these Shopify merchants in their paid ad meta kind of side of their business. So thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you very much, Steve. And then something curious that we can share on our side is the number, the growing number of Shopify stores from the US and from Canada that are starting to onboard on our solution. So fashion and apparel, F&B, cosmetics and beauty. So it's getting super interesting for us, and we were not doing paid media for the region. So I hope that this can help to spread the word across the region. And thank you very much for having me here. It was a pleasure to meet you.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, have yourself a great afternoon. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Well, that's it for today's episode. I'd like to thank you personally for being a loyal listener of E-commerce Fastlane. It's my hope that this podcast is offering you a ton of value through growth strategies, tactics, and exclusive insider tips on the best Shopify apps and marketing platforms, all with my personal goal to help you build, manage, grow, and scale a successful and thriving company powered by Shopify. Thanks for investing some time today and listening to the show. I'm so proud and excited that you have a growth mindset and are a constant learner. I truly appreciate you and your entrepreneurial journey. Enjoy the rest of the week and keep thriving with Shopify.